What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4, Episode 17, Identify and Change. Why, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Why? You were so good about not having to conform to the liberal agenda. Honestly, that's part of what made it my all-time favorite show, is that they didn't feel like they needed to appease some sort of outside crowd. They stuck to what they wanted to do, they kept the focus where it deserved to be, and that was it. And then out of nowhere, we get this episode that's all anti-Trump propaganda. Just kind of out of nowhere. Like, honestly, they've shown their liberal side time and time again. You know, they've taken pot shots at Fox News over and over again. It's not like it hasn't been there, but a lot of the times it was just a line. You know, it was just a joke thrown off to the side. It wasn't something that took up the center of the episode like I've seen in some other shows. You know, Supergirl had one of the characters turning gay. Arrow had an entire episode about gun control. Some of these shows, they have an episode or two, or sometimes a story devoted to talking about liberal things. I've seen it. And, you know, a lot of people will disagree with me. Most of them will probably be liberals. But, I mean, honestly, there are a lot of shows that feel like they have to be pro something, because if not, oh, well, everybody's going to think we're against it, so we got to show that. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. never felt like that. You know, never felt like they felt like they needed to say something, to be political about something. They told a good story. This one, out of nowhere, first off, you have Coulson making the joke about fake news, which actually is kind of a confused joke, because if you wanted to make it about Trump, you would have had Hydra saying that Coulson is fake news, or, you know, calling somebody that's against them fake news, but to have Coulson say it makes no sense. But anyway, that was just one part of it. The whole Inhumans thing feels a lot like the immigration thing. You know, oh, they're different from us, so we need to get them out. We need to eradicate them. Sounds a lot like what's going on with the whole immigration process. And then, of course, out of nowhere, not really applying to anything, Fitz just says, we need to make our society great again. And I'm like, yeah, because that line makes sense in the context of, no, it doesn't. Just out of nowhere, make our society great again. Shouldn't Hydra feel like they've already made it great, and then all of a sudden just, no, we got to make a Trump joke right here, guys, because this is all about Trump this entire time. We need to talk about how terrible he is. It was just disappointing to me. Like, it's not even my opinion, you know. Even though I did vote for Trump, that's not why I'm upset by this. If they had been an anti-Hillary thing, I still would have been upset, because you're still being political. You're still getting into politics. You're still taking your show where it doesn't deserve to be. Just keep it where it belongs. Keep it in the whole Marvel Universe thing. That's fine. Honestly, that's just frustrating. But aside from that, the rest of the episode was really awesome. I mean, all in all, it's still a good episode. It's just that part of it was kind of frustrating for me, because this show's never done that before. And so the fact that they decided to do it now, kind of out of nowhere, is really disappointing. But yeah, on to the episode itself. A lot of interesting things happen in this one. First of all, we get a little bit more in depth about what's going on at Hydra, the stuff with Fitz and, well, called Madam Hydra now, I guess. Kind of what's going on there. Their relationship is a lot deeper than I think we realized. You know, I was wondering if it was just going to be Fitz dropped in there and then she convinced him who he was. It sounds like she dropped him in there and he's been in there for a long time, at least by his mind. You know, because it seems like he doesn't even know who Gemma is. So I'm wondering if because we see Radcliffe says at one point that Ada has actually affected the framework itself. Like, she went in there, she put herself in there and has affected it. So I'm wondering if she went back and changed what happened between Gemma and Fitz at the academy, because it seems like he doesn't even know who she is anymore. So, yeah, that's kind of interesting. And I really do wonder if we're going to find that out later. Like, she actually changed that story to where now she's the one that Fitz loves. She's the one that was with Fitz in the academy, not Simmons. Maybe, maybe not, but I'm curious. You know, now that's really got me interested. And so we do see a lot more about Fitz in this one. We see Gemma's trying to get through to him. Well, she wants to get through to him. There's one point where they find Radcliffe and Agnes, and so they're waiting, you know, they're hiding off in the bushes as Fitz and Madam Hydra show up. And so they're they're talking. Fitz has the gun on her, and Radcliffe's trying to convince him that he's not this person that he is now. He's somebody completely different. And he's just like, no, I know exactly who I am, and shoots Agnes. Kind of a bombshell. I mean, just honestly, I was wondering if it was going to be one of those things where he sees Gemma, and all of a sudden he starts to remember. He's like, wait a minute, but she's supposed to be dead, and starts to remember what they had, and starts to remember who she is to him. But he doesn't. He only thinks about Madame Hydra. He only thinks about Ada. So I really think this is where they're going with it, that she's corrupted him a lot worse than we originally thought, to where he may be the hardest one to get out. We see Coulson is already like, yeah, I'm good. I know what I need to do. He's already, because of the whole Tahiti project, he already has glimpses of the real world, and he knows this is kind of fake. We see the Patriot in this one. He's apparently leading the resistance, which kind of makes sense for his arc. I didn't really think about that when I was talking about the resistance in the last review. I was talking about, oh, what if Radcliffe's heading it? I didn't even consider the fact that the Patriot would be the one to head it, which makes sense for him. That's what he wants. He wants to be the leader. And in this world, he probably actually does have inhuman powers. It's one thing he's always wanted. So I find that very interesting, and I'm curious why Gemma just doesn't tell him that this is all fake and that they need to. Because honestly, if they say that to like May, that's one thing. Because you try to tell that to May, she's working inside of Hydra. She's dangerous. You say that to Mace, it's not as dangerous because he's already trying to work against Hydra in the first place. So I feel like they have an ally there that they can use. On top of that, we also see Mac. He goes through a little bit of an arc in this one. He's there with his daughter. He's really enjoying life with her. Well, there's one point where she steals one of Hydra's little drones, and so he and her get taken in. Well, May convinces him to out Daisy as a undercover S.H.I.E.L.D. operative. And so now she's captured, and because he did that, he feels terrible. And so he goes to S.H.I.E.L.D. and says, I want to help because I feel terrible for what I did. And so we already see he's kind of turning against the program as well. So I feel like of all of them, May is obviously going to be a bit tougher because she's already bought into this whole thing because of what she did in Bahrain. She feels good about that. And she sees that kind of what Hydra did in spite of that. So she's been in there the longest, so she's most likely going to be harder to get out. But we already see Mac is turning against it. Coulson's turning against it. Mace is already pretty much turned against it. So I think of those, though, Fitz will probably be the hardest just because of how close he is with Ada. And because of how close Ada was with him. How much she saw him as the caring person who saw her as more of an android. I think I talked about this in the last episode. He actually saw her as a person. And so I think she saw that in him and realized she wanted that. She wanted to have somebody to care for her like he did. And so she changed that in the framework to where now they're together. So it's very, very interesting to see how that's working. On top of that, just seeing that Ada put herself in the framework, you can see where that made some changes as well. I think I said in the last one, talked about that Bahrain thing, how that one moment changed a lot of history. It may not have just been that. It may have been also some of Ada's handiwork switching around history as well. So I just like the fact that she put herself in there, and we see Radcliffe saying that to her, and just he's very upset with her and what she's done. And so I do feel like he's going to be a helpful ally at some point. But I don't know, at the same time, it's almost kind of weird because they're sitting there talking to him, and he's just like, I'm dead. Like, this is the only place that I live now. And he realizes that. He understands it. And so I do think he's going to be a little bit of a help to him. Not because he wants to, I don't think he really wants to help S.H.I.E.L.D. in particular, because I still think his mind is corrupted. But I think he realizes that what the framework was supposed to be is no longer what it is. So I do think he's going to realize that and going to try to turn against Ada because he doesn't, what she did to him, he doesn't like it anymore. And what she's done to the framework too. So all that's going on. Daisy is now captured and she's being tortured by Hydra and by Fitz, trying to get information out of her about, I guess, S.H.I.E.L.D. and all the undercover stuff going on, which she doesn't know anything about because Ward was the undercover agent. She was just, up until she inserted herself into the program, I think she was actually a part of Hydra. and she just believed it. I don't think she knew about Ward being a double agent. So yeah, all of that's very interesting. I like seeing where the story is going. I like the action. A lot of it is a lot of fun. So the fact that it decided to turn political for this episode, it was disappointing, but it didn't ruin the episode, in my opinion. I still think overall it was a very good episode. It was very enjoyable. The story's still good. The characters are really, really good. I think because I care about these characters so much, it makes that more interesting to see Fitz kind of go evil for this episode, and for the rest of the season as well. So I'm really hoping he's kind of going to be a bit more of the bad guy for this season, just to see how that would affect the team and see how they're going to handle that. So she wanted to join me. So, yep, that's about it for this episode. I think there are a few other scenes involved that were mainly just kind of building up the story, like seeing Ward and Simmons working together. Some of their scenes were talking a bit, you just kind of got a sense that Simmons still doesn't really trust him. But by the end, I think she kind of realizes that she can trust him in this world because he's a lot different, I think, than he is in the real world. So, yeah, there are certain things that I think are kind of building the story, but they're a bit smaller scenes. So if there are any of those scenes that I missed that you want to talk about, let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe to future Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.